Hey everyone, Amia here from Resonance Astrology and welcome to my channel and this week's weekly astrology overview for the astrology of August 11th till August 17th. And this week begins with a cosmic crescendo and then gradually tapers into a quieter, steadier, like by the end of this week, the moon is doing a lot. But by the beginning of this week, we have the most significant transits and alignments, which are Venus conjoining Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn also trining Uranus. Like that's happening on Tuesday. Probably on Monday, depending on which time zone you are. These occur quite early on and offer definitely some sort of emotional abundance and breakthroughs in self-expression and also bold opportunities for connection. And then again, from midweek onward, the moon's the moon does a lot of things. There aren't really a lot of major alignments, but obviously the moon is aspecting the outer planets. So yeah, there's things are starting off strong and then they are gradually getting a bit more subtle, and we're also shifting slowly but surely into eclipse season. So yeah, this is kind of the brief overview, and now we are gonna get straight into the astrology by day. And on Monday, August 11th, which is today, moon will have not moon the moon is in Pisces, that's what I was trying to say. And, kind of trining that Venus and Jupiter in Cancer that are gonna conjoin a day later. So, there is definitely like emotional depth that is happening by the beginning of this week and is being encouraged. Like we're being encouraged to be gentle to the soft animals of our body and with other people as well. There's definitely like a wave of connection, compassion, and creative inspiration, and it flows more easily. Like that's the thing that is so great by the beginning of this week, especially rolling off of that astrology that was quite intense that we had last week. It feels a lot more gentle, and it feels like, okay, now we have that gentle breakthrough moment, that gentle blanket, and we can actually foster some sort of sense of connection, or even in our personal lives. Like inspiration definitely is easier to catch right now and grab it. And that luck of Jupiter that we always associate with this planet is really, meeting the opportunity when it comes into our lives. That can also be overwhelming. I feel like both of these signs in Jupiter and Cancer, like a darker part of that is just like the sheer amount of overwhelm in holding that. That can be a lot for our nervous systems. And if something good wants to enter into our life, a lot of us tend to go down these self-sabotaging roles, especially when it comes to connections. If we have been hurt in the past, something good comes along our way, it's very hard to accept and let that in. And Jupiter in Cancer has, in general, just been such a good reminder that we first need to feel safe in our bodies to be able to welcome that expansion. So once again, I think maybe the best what we can work with it right now is just to make ourselves feel safe in the abundance. You can do that through tapping, for example. I have been doing that quite a lot these past few days because, again, like imagine something, like imagine the dream relationship of your life. Imagine, getting that amount of money that you dream of. Imagine having that job that you really would love to do, but probably maybe internally there's an ick and there's like this discomfort of like, well, I'm not really that person. I'm not really that person that has a healthy relationships and works this amazing job and earns good income. Like that could never be me. Like I could never have all these things at once. Do you? And so, tapping can really help us to kind of like go over these blocks and release them within our body and make ourselves feel safer to hold the capacity to receive more again. So yeah, this is kind of what we're starting off with this week. yeah, almost talked about like Venus conjunct Jupiter in and of itself. But on Monday is still, it's like the moon is in Pisces and it's trining that Venus and Jupiter. And that's great, because there's like a, there's a mutual reception that is happening between Venus and Jupiter, since Venus is, there's like this exaltation. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. This exaltation reception that is going on, because Jupiter is the home sign of Pisces, and is the exaltation of Venus. And obviously right now Jupiter is in Cancer and Venus is also there. And then we have the moon that is in Pisces, which is the ruler of Cancer. So there's like some mutual reception magic going on here. And the two benefics, meeting in this sign with this like rich emotional intelligence and care. I feel like there's just a lot of nurturing qualities in the waters right now, in the fertile waters right now. So yeah, again, could be emotionally intense as well. I fully get that. Again, these experiences of expanding ourselves to have greater pleasure into our lives, not just the easiest, okay? So again, this is kind of always a dark side with these benefic planets as well. Like the goodness can be overwhelming, especially for people that have been stuck in trauma loops for a long, long time, especially trauma loops that have to do, with connection or our creative expression. So yeah, what is also happening on Monday, completely forgot to say that, because it already happened. Mercury is finally direct again. So yay, we survived the Mercury retrograde, guys. And now, misunderstandings are beginning to clear up slowly. Stalled plans are starting to move forward. I'm definitely seeing that in my life, because I will be going to Croatia very soon. And there's so many things that, honestly, I didn't even try to force it. I was just like, I don't know who's going to be there at which time with me. And I'm just going to roll with it for now. And I know that things are going to be cleared up once, Mercury is direct again. And this is literally what is happening. So yeah, that's probably also what's going to happen in your lives. And, there's also like this creative vision that probably regains momentum again through gradual integration. And we talked a lot about Mercury's journey in this Leo workshop that we had yesterday through the decans, because it's so much more nuanced looking at Mercury's journey through the decans of Leo, because we have that first decan, for example, which Mercury is now stationing direct in, which is ruled by Saturn and the Sun. And this decan has a lot to do with like visibility, but also what comes with that visibility. And this sort of also like internal fight of like, do I want to be known? Do I not want to be known? And also like, what is the benefits, but also what are the hardships of being someone that has a platform, being somebody that has a voice? There's a lot of pressure, that comes in that people maybe don't realize at first. And to some people, getting famous, getting more visibility can actually, backfire and be in their detriment. And a lot of what that Leo energy is connecting us back to is always our heart. And like what is purely coming from your heart. And we have these benches here where I live where there's quotes. And I love that. I love quotes. I'm such a quote person. And there's one bench that has this quote that goes, go wherever your heart goes. Or wherever you go with all your heart. Sorry, that's the correct way. I was just translating it from German into English. So, and for me, that is like the Leo season quote. And we also had that new moon in the sign of Leo in that first decan. And I think it's very heart-centered, that first decan especially. Just because it has that rulership of like Saturn, which is where Leo is in detriment in, but then also the Sun, which is its domicile. So there's this interesting dichotomy with this first decan of Leo of, the masks we wear. And like the internal struggle of who we truly are and who we want to be, and who we are when we are with ourselves, who we are when we are around other people, who we are in the public space. So a lot of that, when Mercury is now stationing direct, is like bringing these aha moments around that for us, because probably a lot of us, depending on where Mercury was being retrograde in your own chart and which house it happens. But these were kind of the topics, if Mercury was retrograde in your 6th house, that was probably a dichotomy that you were facing in your work or your day-to-day life. If it was in your 7th house, it was probably something that maybe your partner was facing or you were facing with your partner, like this issue of how you are seeing each other or not really seeing each other. So yeah, depending on which house it was, there's a different story around the topics. But yes, this is for Monday, and then we go on Tuesday. Again, something I already talked about a lot. This is when the actual Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer moment happens. And I love that. I'm such a fan of this. And I can see it personally in my own life, how I have been really, really working on my mindset. This is happening in my 9th house. It makes so much sense that this is me like expanding my thinking and my vision and like where I want to go in life. And something that I really want to note here, it is a bit future tripping right now, but this moment is very much linked to the total lunar eclipse that we're going to have in Pisces, like in about a month. Okay, because that lunar eclipse in Pisces is gonna happen at 15 degrees of Pisces. And this Jupiter-Venus conjunction is happening at 14 degrees of Cancer, being ruled by a moon that is in Pisces at the moment. So, and Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces, okay? So whatever that Venus-Jupiter conjunction brings up, feel like is very much an echo to the story that is gonna be even more amplified when the total lunar eclipse in Pisces hits off a month later. It's happening like around September 7th, okay? So watch out for that, okay? Then what we also have on Tuesday is Saturn in Aries is trining Uranus and Gemini. Now this is, it's not trining, it's sextiling. I just realized. Not trining, sextiling, okay? Just because sextiling, usually we deem them as like minor aspects, but mind that, okay? These are both slower moving planets, so it is most definitely not something to be underestimated, even if it is a sextile. And for me, this is like, the structure of Saturn and Aries meets like the innovative mind of Gemini. And so there's just a lot going on Tuesday, okay? But this is a very good transit for like bold yet strategic steps forward, particularly in self-assertion, leadership, and original thinking. So yes, again, like Tuesday is really the highlight of this week, with Saturn in Aries trining Uranus in Gemini and Venus conjoining Jupiter in Cancer. And it's also interesting because Saturn, by beginning of September, Saturn is moving back into Pisces. Okay, so this day is very much linked to the beginning of September. There's like a whole like story arc that is now unfolding. And it's gonna be interesting. And especially eclipses, guys, it's like a month from now, okay? But eclipses tend to already show its colors like almost a month before, especially if it's like a total eclipse. And this one we are getting in Pisces, beginning of September, is a total lunar eclipse. And I do feel like, personally, I'm already seeing tiny tings and bits of it already slowly but surely, chiming in from the back. So don't underestimate the fact that this is like a month away. Eclipses are loud, okay? Then what we also have later on that day, the moon enters Aries. We go from water to fire, so the moon's not so sensitive, it's not so emotional anymore. It's much more decisive action. And what's interesting with that Aries moon is that it opposes Mars in Libra, and also trines the direct Mercury. So it encourages courageous conversations, and there might be some clearing up that you can do in your relationships on that day as well. So again, Tuesday, August 12th, a lot going on. Wednesday, August 13th, Moon is still in Aries, you know, squaring Venus, squaring Jupiter. So, you know, emotional needs may clash with comfort zones, and it's a day to notice where enthusiasm or assertiveness rubs against vulnerability. So, you know, just be a bit cautious. That's what I'm trying to say. If there's probably a lot that's emerging right now at the beginning of this week, and Mercury still just newly stationed direct, so things are clearing up slowly. Okay, it's not like an immediate like bam, now everything is okay again. So, you know, that might be a day where there might be like a bit of a clash that can happen again, or some realizations of like, oh, like maybe you have like a clearing moment the day prior, and then the next day you're like, oh wait, but I actually did not fully say my needs. I need to assert myself better. So yeah, that's Wednesday for you guys. Then on Thursday, August 14th, Moon enters Taurus. I love that there's a reception again with Venus in Cancer, since both of them are in each other's ruling signs, right? Taurus is ruled by Venus, and Cancer is ruled by the Moon. So there's a mutual reception going on. Love that. Mutual receptions are always very harmonious and just like this helping hand, you know, in the back. And it's definitely also a bit stabilizing in a way. You know, comfort, beauty, and reliability take priority, and this mutual reception for sure fosters harmony in relationships and creativity. Yes. So Tuesday, a good day to, again, maybe resolve something. Take up that art project, okay? Like that's Thursday is the perfect day to get creative with your art project, and, you know, find ways to artistically express your emotions. Totally. Or do some sort of like group therapy hugging session or something like that. Somatics, you know. It's probably also a very good day for that. Then we go to Friday, August 15th. We have Mars in Libra, sextiling Mercury in Leo. So there's also a moment here again where, you know, words can kind of align with action if we take it, and diplomacy supports self-expression in that way. And again, some past misunderstandings can find resolution that have occurred during the Mercury retrograde period. So this is happening on Friday. On Saturday, August 16th, we have officially the third quarter moon in the sign of Taurus. We are, you know, heading in to close that lunar cycle before we have that Virgo new moon, which is happening next week. There's a moment to release what's no longer aligned before the next lunar cycle. We also have Venus in Cancer, trining the North Node in the sign of Pisces, once again hinting very much that whatever is happening in the beginning of the week is going to be super important for the eclipse. Because if you do not already know, the nodes, wherever the nodes are, this is how the eclipses are formed. They are always, like, an eclipse is formed if it's close by the nodes, because the nodes are based off of the ecliptic line. It's not something that, like, the nodes aren't actually like, they aren't like the planets. Like, they don't really like exist like the planets exist. They're just like the northest and the southwestmost point on that ecliptic line. And so whenever the moon is close by that line, this is how an eclipse gets formed. And it's also how out of sign eclipses can happen, because sometimes it's closer to the sign, like prior to that or after that. So this is how we also get out of sign eclipses. But anyhow, that's like a whole nother video. And we're probably going to talk a lot more about eclipses once, you know, beginning of September. So but Venus in Cancer, trining North Node in Pisces, again, relationships and creative callings linked to a larger sense of purpose, and connections may carry a faded quality. Again, just watch out for that day, because it's going to be so important for once that eclipse rolls around. Later on, the moon enters a Gemini, and, you know, again, inviting curiosity with fresh perspectives, especially because the moon immediately conjoins Uranus that day. Just always be careful for like an erratic mind, and ground yourself. Every month when the moon is in Gemini, we already have to work on grounding ourselves, but this, like, since Uranus is in Gemini, we have to do it like extra hard. Like watch out extra hard to get off of social media and touch some grass for real, because it's so easy to just like go into that social media space, and it's hard to get out. So that's just what I have to say. Sunday, August 17th, no major aspects, again, beyond the moon in Gemini, wandering around. So, you know, keep your conversations light, explore what feels natural, and, you know, stay mentally flexible. And this is kind of how we're ending off this week. And, you know, what's ahead, again, we're moving out of the Mercury's post shadow, quietly like stepping towards and into eclipse season. Next week, we have the Virgo season is starting, and we have a Virgo new moon right at the beginning of Virgo season. And that is also, again, interesting. There are going to be 2 Virgo lunations. One of them is going to be an eclipse. That first new moon we are getting in Virgo is not an eclipse, but the second one we are getting is an eclipse. So once again, this kind of proving the point that I made before, that first Virgo new moon is like right at the beginning of the sign of Virgo. So it's still pretty far away from that south node in Virgo. That's why it's not an eclipse yet. Then the second new moon we are getting in Virgo is pretty close by, and this is why we are getting an eclipse. So yes, and that Venus-Jupiter conjunction degrees, once again, they align with September's Pisces eclipse. Let me just like reiterate, okay, that Venus-Jupiter conjunction is happening at 14 degrees of Cancer, and that total lunar eclipse in Pisces is happening at 15 degrees of Pisces. So again, important. It's definitely a sneak peek into this larger wave of change that is coming in September with eclipse season. And this is what I have for you guys. Again, we just had that Leo Decans in Leo workshop. It was super fun. We had it for free. The next one in Virgo is not going to be for free anymore. It was really like the sneak peek that we wanted to give you guys into our work. Me and Duna are doing this. Now we are going to slowly forge the decans of the sign of Virgo. And this will also be uploaded on this channel. Yeah, I'm also busy, like, you know, doing the other podcast episodes based on meeting the planets. This is how it's called, the podcast. And yeah, I'm gonna try and get a bit more into horoscopes again. I'm doing a lot of horoscopes on Instagram, to be completely honest, and I have been slacking a bit off of YouTube. Like, I'm gonna honestly admit that. Just because usually when I'm on YouTube, I want to give like such good insight into horoscopes, and then they take so long. And I feel like maybe if you guys would like that, I could just try to like, you know, expand just a bit more on that post that I already do for horoscopes on Instagram, just to also have like a YouTube video that might be like quick, fast, and fresh. Yeah, because like, let me know if you would find that useful, if you would want something like that. Because I want to be useful for you guys. At the end of the day, like, you're tuning in, I want you to have something from that. And I know horoscopes are popular, and it's easy for people to tune in to like know what their sign is doing. Yes, besides like the weekly overviews, which I know is just a more specific set of people that watch that. So let me know, guys. And again, I'm also preparing new episodes. We're gonna film the Sun episode soon while the Sun is still in Leo, even though that episode is going to be released later. So yeah, because I'm doing it in Chaldean order. But things are happening, things are brewing, and once again, I'm going to be on holidays by the end of August, but I still am so going to find a way to do this weekly overview. Maybe I'm going to pre-record here. Maybe I'm even just going to record there. I really don't know yet. We don't really have internet there in the apartment. How do you say, consciously, we don't want that. So it's usually harder for me to connect on the internet, and just like uploading, like, I don't really want to upload a video on like a random ass network that I don't know, like, even though I have a VPN, but still. So I'm not sure yet. I might pre-record things, but yes. Now also here in Switzerland, the weather is warmer again. I'm having that beach hair look because I'm going to the lake every day and it's summery again. It was so rainy and cold the past like 2 weeks, so I'm glad it's hotter again now and we just have like a summery summer. But yeah, that's what I have for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Liking always helps. Sharing a comment always helps. If you feel like saying anything, no force here. And subscribing also absolutely helps if you haven't done that already. And again, following me on socials, also great because, again, I do a lot of horoscopes posts there currently and I'm a lot more interactive with people. So yeah, see you there, hopefully on Instagram. And if not, I'll see you next week for sure on YouTube. Bye.